Ready for round two?
Me? I'm just going to be watching. You're the one prosecuting the case.
Based on evidence you've given me.
Yes. Seems like the jury really is going for her.
But I could use a little backup proof.
What about your ace in the hole?
Lucy Coe.
Do you have any others?
I'm just not entirely sure that she's on our side.
Oh, you can't honestly think that she's going to back up Kevin's story?
Well, if I did, I wouldn't be so anxious to put her on the stand now, would I?
Think you'll manage to do that today?
I better. I left word for her to be brought straight over to the courthouse as soon as she arrives in town.
Lucy Coe might be Kevin's last chance. But my guess is the minute that you put her on that witness stand, she is going to rip what is left of Kevin's defense to pieces.
What about the relief librarian, Lucy Coe? You hear anything on her?
We're waiting for her to show up today.
She picked a hell of a time to take a vacation.
Very anxious to meet this elusive Miss Coe.
Not half as anxious as I am to see her get here.
What is this mystery woman like?
Well, she's like any other student librarian in the medical section. She's mousy. You never notice her.
Well, let's just hope she noticed you.
She noticed me. She noticed me. All right?
Well, we'll find out today, won't we?
Mrs. O'Connor, give us a statement, please.
Please, we don't have any comment at this time. We leave her alone.
I don't feel like you're being a prime suspect watching your brother defend himself from murder.
Your sister-in-law must be a wreck. Imagine finding out your husband killed your grandmother.
Please, will you leave Terry alone?
If they won't let us inside, the least you can do is consul us out here. That's all we ask. Doc, you got a tranquilizer? Because you're going to need one when you get in a court.
Excuse me, Patrick. Maybe they'll get off your back if you give me an interview.
Yeah.
Okay, just make it quick.
Let's go. This is Jenny Blake coming to you from the courthouse where the Kevin O'Connor trial is entering its second day. We're talking with Dr. Patrick O'Connor, the defendant's brother. He is escorting his sister-in-law, Terry O'Connor, into court this morning. Dr. O'Connor, is there anything new you can tell us?
No, just that my brother is no killer, and if there's any justice in this world, he'll be found not guilty.
How about the black woman? How does she feel? How do you feel about her? Murder his wife's grandmother?
I don't know how much more I can take of this.
You okay?
Yeah.
And let's not forget about Sarah Allen. Her testimony is critical to our case.
If she's allowed to say it, yes.
You did a great job of convincing her to take the stand.
No, it wasn't easy. She is terrified of her fellow citizens from Laurelton.
Are they going to be shocked when she strolls into the courtroom?
Well, I'm just praying that she sticks to her guns. She tells the truth.
Wait, why shouldn't she?
Force of habit. I mean, she's been keeping it a secret for such a long time.
I'm more concerned about the judge. If we can get him to accept the possibility that the three murders are connected, we're home free. Of course, it's going to be our job to get him to see how they're related.
Our job?
Well, you're going to help me today.
Me?
You're going to take the stand.
Oh, Brett.
After all, it was you who established that the three murders were connected so that Jennifer Talbot's murder was not just an isolated act of violence.
Well, yes, I would stake my career on that.
And you already have, my dear.
Right. I'll go and pick up Sarah and bring her over to the courthouse.
Good. With your help, I intend to nail Kevin O'Connor to the wall.
Something else, Kevin.
Well, haven't they got enough of this so-called evidence against me?
I guess not. Madison plans to call Sarah Allen to the stand today.
Well, what could Sarah be testifying about?
Try the murder of Neil Johnson.
What does that have to do with me?
The DA has to try and widen the scope of this case, Kevin.
By accusing me of killing Neil?
And Earl Moody.
DA's got to have some kind of a bad case if he has to implicate me for everything.
That's true. It's a good strategy, though. Goes along the lines of the old cliche, if he's killed once, he'll kill again.
I never killed at all, Jake.
Well, the DA is going to try and prove otherwise, Kevin. You see, if he can connect you, even vaguely, with Neil Johnson's murder, that's really going to strengthen his case, Kevin. So, before the court reconvenes, is there anything I need to know about what happened to Neil Johnson?
Yeah.
What?
You need to know who killed them, Jake, because I didn't do it. Now, I can't tell you a thing. I don't know anything. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here. I didn't kill Jennifer. I didn't kill Neil. I didn't kill Earl. I didn't kill anybody. I just want to go home to my wife.
Come on, pull yourself together.
Well,
For Kevin's sake, if anything else.
I'll try. Why are they so ugly?
Reporters, they're just upset because it's a closed trial. Both the press and the public have been shut out.
Well, good, because they're just like vultures circling around their victim. They're not gonna get Kevin, you know?
Come on, why don't you fix your face up a little bit? I'd like to get underway. It's close enough for you?
Don't let anything happen to Kevin.
I'll do whatever I can, but I'm afraid it's out of my hands.
This is just the way it should be. Laurel them against the world. I'm telling you, they won't put the finger on any one of us if we all stick together.
Let's hope Sarah feels the same way.
Well, if they call her to testify, she'll have to testify.
Oh, God help Sarah and all of us if that happens.
Sit here, Sarah. Sit down and don't you speak to anyone. And as soon as it's time for you to take the stand, they will call you. Are you all right?
Yeah, I suppose.
You're not getting cold feet, are you?
I'm just not sure I'm doing the right thing.
Oh, of course you are. You're telling the truth, Sarah. Now, what could possibly be bad about that? Now, as soon as this is over, you will be able to hold your head up so high because you will have done your part in bringing a murderer to justice. It's going to be fine. Okay. Will you stay close, please? I don't want any of the witnesses hounded by press.
I'll keep the area quiet.
Thank you very much. Right?
Oh, Chief Devane, could you just answer a few questions for us right now?
You feel there will be a conviction today,
I have made a point of never second-guessing a jury.
but do you feel confident that the district attorney has a strong case against Kevin O'Connor?
I think we should just wait and let the people decide, don't you? Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a...
Thank you.
I'm trying to reach Jake Meyer. He's the defense attorney. Is he there yet?
Okay, thank you.
Any news about the trial?
Bobby's calling Jake right now.
I'm trying to call Jake. It's probably too early.
Well, we'll see the patients in CICU and call again later.
Yeah, I just want to find out if they're going to start on time.
Must be a madhouse outside the courtroom.
Fortunately, that insanity's going to be confined to the corridor.
Thanks to Stephen Buzz.
An open trial would have been an absolute disaster.
Yeah, for Kevin as well as for the hospital.
That's all we need around here is more bad publicity.
Well, nothing like a patient going into cardiac arrest to make a judge change his mind about freedom of the press.
I would have made that very same decision in his place.
Yeah, but everything turned out for the best. Mrs. Corbett McCormick is in stable condition, and Kevin is getting a fair trial instead of media.
Sorry to interrupt you, but may I speak to you for a moment?
Oh, of course. Excuse me, please.
Sure.
What's up?
Do you remember me mentioning the Fletcher boy to you?
Oh, that's the young boy that lives in your building.
Right, that's the one. I mean, he's really a good kid, but ever since his parents divorced, he's gotten into some trouble.
Serious?
Well, not so far, but I'm worried about him. I was wondering maybe you have some ideas about how I could help him?
Well, I have to run, but could you meet me at Kelly's for lunch?
Oh, great.
Yeah, we could discuss it further there.
Oh, thanks.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay.
I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, I got in touch with the guard. He said they're just about ready to start.
I wonder how Terry's holding up.
Oh, Rick, I'd give anything to be there with her and Jake.
Well, there's no reason why he can't.
Well, we have to go see patients.
Well, then let's get cracking. We'll see the patients, and if everything is okay in CICU, you can go.
Oh, Rick.
In fact, I'll go with you.
Thank you. Normally, I am not a fan of courtroom drama, but this is one session I don't want to miss for anything.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Anderson presiding.
Be seated. You may continue, Mr. Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would like to call Mr. Red Flynn to the witness stand, please.
Red Flynn. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case of the people of the state of New York versus Kevin O'Connor shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name.
Red Flynn.
Mr. Flynn, where do you live?
On the waterfront, Market Street.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm the manager of the pub.
What pub is that?
The pub. That's the name of the joint.
Oh, I see. Would you please tell the court what you were doing on the morning of March 17th between the hours of 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning?
I know exactly where I was. I was at the airport.
And what were you doing at the airport?
I was there to meet a marching band that we had hired for the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Did you happen to notice anyone else in particular while you were waiting for the band?
Yes, the lady that was murdered.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Mr. Flynn, is this a picture of the woman?
Yes, that's her.
May the record show the witness has positively identified Mrs. Talbot? Mr. Flynn, what was Mrs. Talbot doing when you spotted her?
She was arguing with this young man.
This young man. Is this young man in the courtroom today?
Right over there, Kevin O'Connor.
Will the defendant please rise? Now, Mr. Flynn, are you absolutely certain that this is the young man you saw arguing with Mrs. Talbot on the morning of March 17th?
No question about it.
Your Honor, may the record show that the witness has positively identified the defendant, Kevin O'Connor?
You may be seated, Mr. O'Connor.
Now, Mr. Flynn, did you hear any of their argument?
No, they were too far away, but looked like to me that it was a very heated conversation from where I was standing.
And did you see Mrs. Talbot and the defendant do anything else?
Well, I saw them leave together.
Did the victim willingly accompany Mr. O'Connor?
Objection, Your Honor. The witness is being asked to draw a conclusion he's not qualified to make.
Sustained.
The state has no further questions of Mr. Flynn, Your Honor.
Your witness, Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Flynn, was the airport crowded the morning you claim you saw Kevin O'Connor with Jennifer Talbot?
Very. Seems like people like to travel on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, I guess so. Was it cold?
Yeah, it was very, very cold.
Ah.
Freezing.
Freezing? So most of the people milling around the airport probably pretty bundled up, right?
Yeah. But I could still tell them apart.
Please, just answer the question, Mr. Flynn. If I want you to volunteer any information, I'll ask for it. Thank you. How was the band dressed?
In full regalia.
Including green hats?
Yeah. A lot of people are wearing green that day.
And how about the young man you claim is Kevin O'Connor? Was he wearing a green hat, too?
Yeah, a lot of folks were that day.
Your Honor, I'm going to show the witness two exhibits that the defense has already submitted as evidence.
You may proceed.
All right, Mr. Flynn. This hat look like the hat that the man you claim is Kevin O'Connor was wearing?
No, doesn't look anything like it.
No. How about this one?
Yeah, now you're on the right track.
Yeah?
That looks just like the one you got on your head. That looks like it.
How far away were you from this man when you saw him?
Oh, I'd say 20, 25 feet.
Would the clerk please measure out approximately 20 feet from the witness stand? Excuse me. Thank you. Is it about right, Mr. Flynn? About 20 feet?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Flynn. Can you, under oath now, identify me under these conditions, similar conditions that were at the airport that morning?
Objection.
No,
conditions are not remotely similar.
I'll allow the question. You may answer, Mr. Flynn.
What do you say, Red? Can you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, identify me?
No, you know I...
Of course you can't. And in a crowded airport, it would be even more difficult to identify anybody.
It was easier there.
Why is that, Mr. Flynn?
Well, because the young man that was with Mrs. Talbot, somebody in the crowd knocked his hat off, and besides that, I'd seen Kevin O'Connor earlier before the plane landed.
You had seen him earlier, Mr. Flynn? Well, why didn't you mention that in your previous testimony?
Well, I didn't think it was important at the time. Besides, I knew that I could identify Kevin O'Connor.
Where did you see Kevin earlier?
I saw him at the newsstand. Actually, I noticed the girl that he was with first.
Girl?
Yeah, she was a real looker. You know, a fox like that'll stand out anywhere. I mean, she had a body that you wouldn't believe. And she was wearing these funny stockings on legs that went on forever. And these spiked heels. And she had this kind of weird...
So, Mr. Flynn, suddenly, you saw Kevin earlier. And also suddenly this mysterious woman appears. Both of which you did not mention in any previous testimony. I know you probably weren't observing her face from the way you're describing her.
No, I only saw her from the back, but I'll lay money on it. With looks like that, she's a knockout all the way around, you know? In fact, I caught her talking to Mrs. Talbot later, and I didn't get a chance to see her face there either. But what's somebody, though? I'm telling you, you know, I will never, ever forget those curves in a million years. You talk about positive identification.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. No more questions. No more questions, Your Honor.
The witness may step down.
What is going on? Why did Red Flynn lie about that girl, too?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. This case is getting stranger every day.
Your Honor, the state calls Port Charles Police Chief Anna Devane to the stand.
Here we go.
Can't you object?
On what grounds? She hasn't opened up her mouth yet. She has a perfect right to testify. I've just got to make sure she confines her statements to the murder at hand.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case of the people of the state of New York versus Kevin O'Connor shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name.
Anna Devane.
Mr. Vane, for the record, what is your occupation?
I'm co-police chief of this city.
And you were directly involved in the investigation of Jennifer Talbot's murder, were you not?
Yes, I was.
As well as the continuing investigation into two other killings, the so-called Brownstone murder.
Objection, Your Honor. Prosecution has not made any connection between any of these three separate murders, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may we approach the bench?
You may.
He's charged with one murder, not three. If you've got evidence, indict him. Otherwise, drop it.
Your Honor, Chief Devane firmly believes there is a strong connection between the three murders.
What sort of connection?
We are convinced that one individual was responsible for the three murders. Now, we cannot as yet conclusively link Kevin O'Connor to the two previous murders, but if you will let me follow this line of reasoning, I'm sure that it will prove that Kevin O'Connor committed the third.
Very well, Mr. Madison, you may proceed, but keep it relevant. The first sign I see you're veering off course, I'll snap you back in line straight away. Is that clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
And let's get on with it.
Thank you.
The defense objection is overruled.
Chief Devane, in your professional opinion, is there any relationship between Jennifer Talbot's killing and the previous murders?
Yes, I'm certain that there is.
Would you please tell the court why you believe that?
Well, the first victim was Earl Moody. He was strangled by a silver chain, which is given to members of the board of the Purity Water Company and their families. Attached to the chain is a medallion on which the recipient's initials have been etched. In this case, the second initial on the murder weapon was O.
Please go on.
Now, Moody's nephew, Neil Johnson, he was the second victim. He was discovered murdered in the brownstone. Now, Neil Johnson was Kevin O'Connor's cousin, and also the individual who stood to gain a substantial amount of Purity Water stock from his uncle's will, if indeed he had lived long enough to inherit it.
So the first two murders were directly linked to the Purity Water Company?
Oh, absolutely, and the third. Jennifer Talbot was a prominent member of the Purity Board, and shortly before she was murdered, she had a special codicil added to her will, which left half of her shares of the Purity Water Company to Kevin O'Connor.
Objection. Your Honor, the defendant had no way of knowing what was in Jennifer Talbot's will.
Your Honor, the witness merely stated a fact. She made no comment regarding the defendant's prior knowledge of the victim's will.
She implied as much.
Overruled.
Chief Devane, do you believe that the same individual who murdered Jennifer Talbot is responsible for the murders of Earl Moody and Neil Johnson?
I do.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, would you care to cross-examine the witness?
Your Honor, I have no questions of Chief Devane at this time.
The witness may step down.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, Mr. Madison.
Your Honor, the state calls Sarah Allen to the stand, please.
What does he want with her?
Just relax. Sarah doesn't dare say a word with all of us sitting here staring at her.
Well, I tell you,
Chief Devane.
Why I brought Bobby here?
Oh, it's nice.
Oh, I had an ulterior motive.
What?
I wanted to be sure that you were okay.
Why shouldn't I be?
I just thought you might get a little spooked being down here again. And I want to be here to help just in case there are any demons that come out of the woodwork.
Could you tell me if you have seen Sarah Allen? She's one of our witnesses.
Yes, she's in the ladies' room.
That's how I think you'd be very proud of me. Because I haven't given a second thought to what happened to me last year.
It's easier on the outside looking in.
I like covering a story, not being one.
Oh, I am so glad you're here.
Come on, let's sit down. You okay?
Even aside from being worried sick.
What happened?
How much time have you got?
Look, the district attorney just called Sarah Allen to the stand.
Why?
Yeah, that's what we would like to know.
I don't know why, but Madison wants to question somebody from Lawson. I don't know what it has to do with Kevin.
Oh, I think we're about to find out.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case of the people of the state of New York versus Kevin O'Connor shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name.
Sarah Allen.
Please be seated. Mrs. Allen, where do you live?
In Lawton, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. And what is your occupation?
I work for the Purity Water Company.
Mm-hmm. What exactly do you do for that company?
I'm a kind of combination secretary, bookkeeper.
Work there long?
Oh, off and on for years.
So would it be safe to say you have an intimate understanding of the workings of the Purity Water Company?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is irrelevant.
Sustained.
Mrs. Allen, isn't it true you used to work as a housekeeper for Earl Moody?
Oh, yes.
And you were well acquainted with his nephew, Neil Johnson, were you not?
Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm sure I speak for the entire courtroom when I say I haven't got the slightest idea what Mr. Madison is trying to prove here.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Counselor.
Your Honor, if you will allow me to follow this line of reasoning, I assure you I can make it worth the court's while.
See that you do, Mr. Madison, and soon. Objection overruled.
Mrs. Allen, what can you tell us about your former employer's disappearance?
Objection! Your Honor, Earl Moody disappeared in Laurelton. His fate has nothing to do with Jennifer Talbot.
But it does, Your Honor, and we intend to prove it.
Objection overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Allen, I'll ask you again. What can you tell us about Earl Moody's disappearance?
He vanished on the night of February 14th, 3 years ago.
Did you make any attempt to locate him?
Yes. I asked all around town, but nobody would tell me anything. And then one time when I was putting flowers on the Moody family graves, well, I used to do that. I still do.
Oh, and what happened?
Well, I wandered a short distance away, and I discovered a new grave.
Anything unusual about that?
It was an unmarked grave, and the dirt that was on top was still fresh. Oh, I knew right away something was very wrong.
You were frightened.
Scared to death, so to speak.
And what did you do?
Nothing.
You didn't tell anyone?
I was afraid to. I just kept hoping that it would just go away, but of course it never did. And then I kept visiting that grave every day, month after month, wondering, should I go to the police or not?
But you never did. Why not? What were you afraid of? Who did you think was buried in that grave, Mrs. Allen?
I had no idea.
Didn't you?
I thought it might be Earl.
Go on.
Well, finally, I couldn't stand it any longer. I had to tell someone, so... The only person that I felt I could trust was Neil Johnson. He was Earl's nice young nephew.
Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, I have to object to this entire line of questioning. Mr. Madison continues to use this arena to try Kevin O'Connor on 2 murders that have nothing to do with anything else. Kevin O'Connor is on trial here for the murder of Jennifer Talbot.
Kevin O'Connor is indeed on trial here for the murder of Jennifer Talbot, Your Honor, but the deaths of Earl Moody and Neil Johnson are far from irrelevant here.
So we seem to have established, Mr. Madison. Objection overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may continue.
Mrs. Allen, what did Neil Johnson say when he heard about your discovery?
Oh, he was shocked. And at first he didn't believe me. And then, well, he sort of took me to task for keeping it to myself for over 3 years.
And then what did Neil do?
He dug up the grave.
And what did he find?
His uncle's body.
Neil Johnson found Earl Moody's corpse in that unmarked grave. What happened after that?
Well, then he took Earl's glass eye and the chain that was around his neck. The one that strangled him.
What kind of chain was it?
Oh, that was a purity water chain.
Objection!
Overruled. And was a medallion attached to that chain, Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
And were there initials etched on that chain? And what were those initials etched on the murder weapon?
K.O.
What was that?
K.O.
K.O. As in Kevin O'Connor.
Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, can I approach the bench, please?
Your Honor,
Could we
District
please
Attorney,
use this courtroom in circles?
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
General Hospital will continue in a moment.
Take it easy. All right? Take it easy. All right? It's going to be all right. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so Take a deep breath.
This court will recess for 2 hours.
All rise.
Right.
Yeah, I
Let's
think
go
she's
take
gonna be
a walk.
okay.
We'll get some air.
Yeah, it's just got hot in here, you know? It's just got real hot. We'll get some air. And it just got hot, you know?
Patrick, take Terry into the visitor's room. I'll join you.
All right, honey, I'll be right in.
Okay?
Take it easy.
Patrick, take care of her, all right?
Okay, everything all right?
Step by the ladies' room.
Okay, get my coat over there.
You must be awfully proud of yourself. You have stooped to new lows, Anna. Your unscrupulous behavior never ceases to amaze me.
I have a lot of things to do. Can we talk about this later?
How dare you pull such a grandstand play?
I dare do anything for truth.
To fabricate it, you mean?
I was not on the witness stand just now.
No, you manipulated the witness. I saw you pulling the strings on Sarah. For what? To hang Kevin out to cry for your career? At what price, Justice Chief?
Bobby.
Lonely job.
I'm not in this line to get friends.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
You're hardly a candidate for the popularity contest yourself.
We do what we have to do.
Yeah, and hate ourselves in the process. I mean, Sarah. And I'm frightened of what's happening to Terry out there.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Connors, it's true. Your husband was implicated in another killing. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Sarah. What are we going to do with you?
Made a grave mistake, Sarah.
You went against your friends.
Yes, we had you protected, Sarah, and you let us down.
There is no excuse for your behavior in that court just now.
I hope you're not planning to come back to Lawton after that disgraceful display.
We are truly ashamed of you, Sarah.
And we thought you were one of us.
Oh, all I did was tell the truth. You accuse my son of murder.
What did Kevin ever do to you, Sarah?
Purity treated you well, Sarah. Is this your way of saying thank you?
I don't know anymore what is right or what is wrong.
Thanks for what you did in Laurelton, Anna. You know, we're going to break this case wide open once Sarah returns to that stand.
Oh, my God. Sarah. You don't look well to me.
As your doctor, Sarah, I think you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Oh, well, this has been very much of a strain.
Sarah, you could have pulled it off if you hadn't broken ranks. Now.
Sarah, I would hate to have you put away, Sarah.
Put me away?
Yes, put away, so that you could never hurt anyone ever again.
I never meant to.
You really should have thought of that sooner, shouldn't you?
What can I do to make it up to him?
What is going on here? A lynch mob?
He was just shooting the breeze with an old friend.
Are you all right, Sarah? Guard,
Right.
take this woman to a private room, please, and see that nobody speaks to her until court is back in session.
Bobby, how's it going? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. How's Terry taking it? Well, she can get through this, she can get through anything. Okay. I'm sorry about the bad news. Bye.
Well,
Here you go.
Oh,
thank you, Ruby.
That was Bobby on the phone.
How's the trial coming?
Apparently not so well for Kevin.
Well, how's Terry holding up?
She's hanging in there, but it's got to bust her up.
You know, that kid's been going through a hell of a time lately.
Oh, it's not getting any better. Oh, let me spoil your lunch.
Oh,
Enjoy.
okay.
Thanks, Ruby.
Thanks.
Now, let's get back to the Fletcher boy.
Brian. I just can't seem to get through to him. He has a world of potential, but ever since his parents split up, he just doesn't seem to be interested in anything. Anything constructive, that is.
Messy divorce?
Oh, yes, very.
A custody battle?
And it got pretty ugly.
Poor kid. You know, I don't know many adults that are happy after a divorce, but I can't think of any children that are not seriously hurt after their parents call it quits.
Oh, yeah. Because too many adults think primarily of themselves when they're considering ending their marriage.
As if their children could care less what happens to them.
You can have as many husbands or wives as you want, but you only get 2 real parents.
And now the Fletcher boy has to learn the hard way how to live with one.
Yeah? And so far, it's not serious trouble, but I'm just worried. I'm worried that it might only be a matter of time.
All right.
Oh, Ruby.
Hi.
Hi, have you seen Brian? We were supposed to meet somewhere, and
He's right there. That does it.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it means a lot.
Excuse me. Am I interrupting something?
What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? Well, I see you started your celebration without me.
Celebration?
Our wedding anniversary. You do remember that, don't you? We were supposed to meet for lunch at the Versailles room.
Oh, no.
I had no idea we were bringing dates.
Honey, would you believe I completely forgot.
Oh, I would believe that.
Look, I'm sorry. Look, Debbie, I met Debbie at the hospital. She wanted my opinion on some kid. His parents had gotten a divorce.
Well, now that's a subject you may know a great deal about before long.
Look, I was in a hurry, and I asked to meet her here for lunch.
You asked? Well,
That makes it crystal clear where your priorities lie.
Honey,
doesn't
all
it?
I was doing was seeing what I could do to help an underprivileged kid. That's all.
What about the underprivileged adults in your life? Like your... Are you interrupting me talking to my
sorry,
husband?
You're out of line. Again. And I've had my fill of it.
Brian,
Debbie.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I've just done it. All wrong. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm okay now, all right?
You had me worried there for a minute.
Yeah, well, when Sarah mentioned those initials, I don't know, I just lost it.
Listen, don't worry. Jake's gonna rip her testimony to shreds.
Doesn't look good, does it?
No. That Madison really did his homework, boy.
Anna Devane did most of the damage.
The two of them make formidable opponents.
What are you going to do, Jake?
I've got a few tricks up my sleeve.
Such as?
Frisco and Felicia, for one. They're working on a particular aspect of the case that could prove to be very helpful.
What you should do is sick the two of them on Red Flynn.
You heard about the testimony, huh?
Yeah, Patrick told me about it. What do you make of that?
I don't know. All I wanted to do was show that he could not possibly be absolutely sure that Kevin was there that morning. Suddenly he starts talking about this beautiful woman, and you could have knocked me over with a feather.
Who could she be?
I don't know, but I'm damn well sure gonna find out.
What about Sarah?
She hurt us, Bobby. Badly.
But you get to cross-examine her.
I don't know if I want to. Every time that woman opens up her mouth, it damages our case.
Can't you try to poke some holes into her testimony?
I could. Let's see how it goes when she's called back to the stand.
I know Anna's gotten to her.
Maybe. You've got to assume that she's telling the truth. Lying under oath is a serious offense. Right now, I'm relying on Lucy Coe. She may just give this case the shot beyond we're looking for.
What if she doesn't? What if she turns out to be a witness for the prosecution? Are you going to be able to save Kevin?
Mrs. O'Connor, have you talked to your husband since court recess?
No.
Do you have any idea he might have been involved in 3 murders?
Luke, Kevin is involved in protecting himself from these vicious and unfounded rumors.
Oh, it's no rumor. This man's been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder.
This is a tragic mistake, which will very soon be corrected, I promise.
Mrs. Brock, you've been there before. Did you have any advice for your stepdaughter?
Oh, Mrs. Brock. Sarah doesn't need my advice. She's doing fine on her own, thank you.
Told her. It's like old, very unpleasant times.
I just want to say one thing, Bobby, that I hope things come out as well for you, too, as they did for me.
Thanks. If you want to improve our odds, say a prayer. You got it.
How are you doing? Are you all right? You're not having second thoughts, are you?
Why should I?
Don't back down now, Sarah, please.
I'm only going to intend to do God's will. And what else could be expected from us?
Just got a call. Lucy Coe's back in town.
Oh, finally.
She's on her way over here right now. If she will deny that Kevin O'Connor was in the library that morning and Sarah sticks to her story, we have won. Let's go.
All right.
Be seated.
May I remind the witness that she is still under oath?
Oh, yes, sir. I understand that.
Very well. You may continue your questioning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Allen, may we just recap the last portion of your testimony? The part where you described the initials you saw on the chain that killed Earl Moody.
Yes, there is a slight correction I have to make about that.
Correction?
Yes, you see, I I never actually saw the initials on the medallion.
Then how do you know they were there?
Well, Neil Johnson told me.
Well, regardless, will you tell this court again what initials were on the murder weapon?
Well, I'm just going by what Neil told me, you understand?
That doesn't matter, Mrs. Allen. What were the initials?
Well, you see, when I testified earlier, I wasn't being quite clear. You see, I think I was a little flustered, and well, I'm still just trying to get over Earl's death. And
Mrs. Allen, please. What did Neil Johnson say was etched on the medallion?
Well, you see, Neil claimed that he saw only one initial on the medallion, and he thought that it looked like the letter O.
Are you telling this court that there was only one initial on the medallion?
Yes.
What about the letter O? You testified earlier that there was K-O on the medallion.
Well, I made a mistake.
Mrs. Allen, do you know the penalty for perjury?
Oh, I'm not lying.
I have reminded the witness once that she is under oath. You are required to tell the truth. Failure to do so can result in the most severe consequences.
Oh, Your Honor, what I just told the court is the absolute truth, so help me God. Neil claimed that the only initial that was on the medallion was the letter O.
Oh, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Your witness.
I just don't see any need to question the witness right now, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness, Mr. Madison.
The state calls... Excuse me, Your Honor.
Mr. Madison?
Your Honor, I'd like to pass on questioning the witness at this time and request a recess until further notice. I've just been informed a key witness has arrived. Lucy Coe is now in the courthouse.
This is Joan London. Next week, Charles